Hello, it's me, Krishana. I am going to talk to you about intuition. So, um, as a lot of you already know, I work as a professional psychic and a professional root worker or spellcaster. And I know there's a lot of people out there who, and I'm sorry for the glare in my glasses. So, anyway. I know there's a lot of people who don't necessarily believe in psychics and things like that, and so I kind of wanted to um, tell you how I do my work. A lot of times when I'm doing work with people, I do use cards, but that's only because I read a, a lot of people. I don't know how many people I've actually read for, but I read a lot of people. But I could set my cards aside if I wanted to, and I could just use my pure intuition to be able to read someone. And I know there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube specifically about kind of the parlor trick, version of it. But I read over the phone and a lot of times or through Skype and not knowing anything about people prior to. And it's actually rather simple as a concept. And I kind of, like I said, just wanted to kind of talk about it because I think that it is really interesting. I consider myself to be some people call it a witch or a sorceress or a magician. I like the word magician because I come from a sort of esoteric background. So as a magician, there is a there's just a lot of things that I sort of study and understand, and I kind of take a scholarly approach to the work that I do because I also want to know how things work versus just kind of saying because they just happen because it's just magic. But what's the breakdown of that? So I'm not going to get into magicianship, if you will. If you want to hear more about that, then we can definitely maybe even do a workshop or something like that about working as a magician and how one develops that. So yeah, intuition. So the way that I do that is something that I've actually told some of my friends before, as they ask me kind of how I do my work. But it's actually a rather simple concept, and it kind of involves visualization. Now, I don't really go into a trance or anything like that. Like I don't really do any of that because I've developed my skills enough over time. But this is a visualization and B trusting yourself. Okay. So just imagine that, everyone says that we are one, and we're like, what does that mean? In my view of things, it's almost like visualize yourself in a pool. And in that pool, it's like an energetic pool. But it's a pool. Just think of a pool. You're in a pool. And while you're in that pool of water, um, you swim over to your friend and you're able to kind of connect with your friend and talk with your friend and you're able to connect with his energy that way, or you swim to somebody else and you're able to connect with that energy as well. um and so it's just a pool, and that's been my understanding of it, and this is not from a book or something. This is just kind of from my own lexicon of internal information that I've had forever. But yeah, it's a pool, and it's just me swimming over to, a certain somebody and letting them tell me, in this sort of intuitive way, what's happening. Because we're all a part of the same pool. So it's not really that difficult. It's not really that, it's not really I call it the goat, which is basically like you're expecting like the earth is going to shake and like chandeliers are going to fall and things like that. It's not like that. It is actually really simple. It's um It is the fact that I recognize that we're in a pool. And because we're in a pool, if you ask me a question, I go into that pool of consciousness that we all belong to, and I ask you that question. I ask yourself that question. Um, and the information that I have gathered, it actually took I guess the most difficult part of the process is trusting yourself and trusting that the information that you're getting is not just random. Trusting information that you're getting is direct and true. And it has built up my confidence quite a bit to be a reader, because the fact that I did kind of start out with not trusting myself, and you start asking questions, much like what you would consider to be sort of fake psychic, if you will. You're like, oh, is there a man involved in your life, or is and you start asking these questions. And when I first started, I was asking these questions to kind of sort out the information that I was getting, which looks totally not legit. But over time, as I've been a reader for, I was reading my friends, I think when I was around 18, like with cards. But I was reading like when I was a child. So, that was just kind of how that was. My mom was really awesome, and she, really encouraged me to develop my gifts and to trust my intuition and things like that. So when I became a professional psychic, it actually, the hardest part was trusting the information I was getting for strangers, basically. And so, I use my cards, and my cards have become kind of tools. Like if somebody is like a construction worker or something like that, then you have a hammer. My tarot cards are my tools, so that I'm not using so much of my own energy in order to try to like read. It's like a way for me to kind of like to cut the energy a little bit. When I was a child and I was giving readings to people, not really knowing what I was doing, like people just asked me questions and I would just tell them whatever answer came up. So it wasn't like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want to be this like super weird child and I want to like start doing readings for people. That was not the case whatsoever. Um, it was just, they asked me questions and I would just answer those things. So my mom actually was, she had developed her gifts as well. And so I kind of come from a line of people who are very intuitive. And so, as I got older and I started doing, readings for people, I started kind of having my cards and kind of trusting that, that everything it's another level of trust, because it's almost like also trusting that everything that is happening, every card that you get, every piece of information that you're receiving is exactly what's supposed to be said at that time. And it's a lot of kind of separating yourself in a way, which is why I think if you wanted to, try intuition or try developing your intuition, that, I would say that you should probably start with visualization, and so it might take you a little bit more time before you actually get, really comfortable with it, but start with visualization. Here's a kind of a cool little way of which you can kind of, if you want to play around with it a little bit. What I would do if I were you is pick someone that you trust and who maybe like a partner of sorts, a friend or a partner. And, you're going to feel really silly at first. It's not going to be easy because, again, you have to trust yourself a lot. You have to trust yourself and trust your abilities. And you have to also kind of, you have to be more open-minded to the idea of there's so many things out in the world. Everything, we all know that everything's energy, but then when you start talking about how to use energy, people start shutting down. It's insane. So, try a visualization with a friend or someone that you trust. That's my mom's clock. um, so, sit with them and, and just imagine yourself in that pool, and then have them ask you questions, And then, and then imagine yourself literally in your mind state, swimming over to your friend and asking them the questions that they're asking you. And they'll tell you. They're like, in their energy self will tell you those answers. Write down about 10 things, and the first things that pop off in the top of your head. You know, the color of the sky that day, or a name of a person. Like, write down these 10 things. And when you're first starting out, maybe none of those things are going to feel true, but this isn't because of the fact that your intuition's off. It is because of the fact that you haven't developed that internal self to be able to trust the information that you're getting at. And so keep trying at it, keep going. If you're really interested in it, like, keep going, because it's crazy to me how many people don't necessarily believe in intuition. I've personally had my intuition save my life several times. I've had my ability save my life. Here's an example. I was hanging out with a good friend of mine, and we were in South Pasadena, and we were going to go walk somewhere, and I just kind of felt this. I felt this sense within myself that was just really extreme. I started feeling these, like, I felt danger. I just felt danger. And I remember as we were walking from her house to the train station, I started getting these visions in my head of someone jumping out of the bushes. And it was extreme. Like, it was crazy. It was extreme. Someone jumping out of the bushes with a knife. And I was just like, and as someone who has developed and learned to kind of trust their intuition, I told my friend, I was like, yo, I'm having these visions. Shit's about to get real. I need you to, I need you to just be aware and be alert of our surroundings, because something is going to happen. Sure enough, and this is so crazy, sure enough, we end up walking a little bit farther. And as we start walking a little bit farther, a man comes out of a building right around the area that I thought was dangerous. And he's holding his, like, neck, and he's like, oh my God, someone just stabbed me in the neck. And he literally has, like, blood going down his shirt. I mean, not to get graphic, but he has blood going down his shirt. And I was so terrified, like, I booked it. And my friend will tell the story. I booked it, and I didn't mean to leave her there, but she was asking questions, and I was over asking questions because my intuition had already said the shit was just not right. But that's using your intuition. That's the importance of developing your intuition, even if you never use it to be like a psychic, even if you never use it, to professionally read people. That is why you would want to develop it, because it's that moment that you get that sense, don't go there, that you really need to trust yourself, because something is trying to protect you. There's a force, there's an energy, whatever you want to call it. It's yourself, trying to protect yourself, and the whole thing is like intuition is a feeling, like happy or sad is a feeling. It's like you can't deny that you're either happy or sad or depressed and things like that. And do not deny the fact that there are times that you're feeling things that you can't necessarily explain, either about people or about your surroundings or about where you should and should not go. So anyway, I hope this talk was really helpful. And I am currently building my website, Belladonna Curio. I'm also going to start working on making more workshops for those who are interested. I do have videos available for my New Year, New Boundaries workshops, if in case you missed it. So go ahead and PM me. And anyway, I hope that this information was helpful, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.